You are listening to the Old School Movement podcast with Daz, Chris and Steve. You understand?
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we have a guest today. He's a cartoonist. He's worked on stuff like, what's he worked at, Chris? I'm lost for words. Transformers, Thunder, X-Men,
Mr. T, Kid and Play. There's a whole reel of stuff this guy's done, man.
This whole storyboard artist and director, Mr. Larry F. Houston.
How you doing, guys?
We're good.
Good. How are you?
Been doing good. Yeah, you guys were my audience. You kept me employed. I love it.
now we want answers. Yeah. Oh, excellent. So, like, you're a storyboard artist and director, right? That's what you do within the cartoons. You don't do any animation or drawing or anything, no?
No, I started out in the business as a storyboard artist, and then I worked in different divisions within the business, like doing layouts and doing ink and paint and doing other jobs like that. And then I was working on G.I. Joe as a storyboard artist, and one of the directors left, and so I took over his position. And then that's when I started being a director back in the mid 80s. And from that point forward, I was a director in a lot of different shows.
So you were the first black employee at Filmation, right?
Yes.
So
actually, I was the first black storyboard artist in the industry.
Oh, wow! And how long ago was that? When was that?
That was I think it was 1981. When they had my friend who worked at Disney. He had been working on. He was a black animator. He worked on a Jungle Book, Floyd Norman.
Yeah.
And he had done some storyboards before, but he was never hired for that position. He did some little sequences within the film. But I was the first one to actually be hired for that job, to actually be a storyboard artist for Saturday Morning. And so, yeah, I was the first black guy to be hired for that. Yeah. Floyd had to tell me, it's like, we went to lunch and he told me this, and I went, what are you talking about? And I had back and talked to my friends going, because there had been other black directors, there had been character designers when I was there.
Yeah.
But I guess I was the first one to get into that department of being the first storyboard artist.
Yeah.
And so that was my origin.
Yeah. The time you was there, did you see progression? Was there more black employees coming in through the years, or
Oh yes.
Black faces building.
Yeah. Yeah. Once I got hired in as storyboard artist, there were like 4 or 5 other guys that came in after me the next couple of months afterward. And we, at the time at Filmation, the one thing I can say is that it was that studio is very much built on a meritocracy, where if you had the talent, the guy in charge of the studio, his name was Lou Scheimer, didn't care what you looked like. You do the work, he got hired.
Yeah.
And Lou was a very good owner, because he owned the studio, and he loved cartoons. And he did a cartoon that was like the first black superhero couple called Super Stretch and Micro Woman. It was like in the mid 70s somewhere.
Okay.
And it was his. It's kind of a rip-off of a couple of DC characters, and DC sued them and they can't show it anymore.
Oh, wow.
But you can find it on YouTube somewhere.
Yeah.
And he also tried to pitch a show to the networks called Black Star with a black lead. And the networks didn't want to go for it. So it went from being a black character to being an American Indian, kind of a brown character.
Yeah. Oh,
and
wow.
He was at the forefront of trying to integrate the animation for Saturday Morning.
Yeah.
As director, you had direct control over the story writers. Then you gave them the idea and got them to write what your vision was.
Yep. And I got a chance, because I've always wanted to do this. I did the very first animated Black Panther episode, where we took the original 2 issues, we mushed them together into one episode.
Yeah.
So I got a chance to do the Black Panther.
That's similar to any of the Marvel film now. Have they stuck to any of the comic, the cartoon, the Black Panther story, or?
Well, they kind of, it's all based upon the original material, but they've layered it with more complexity and store and content. So it's better, but it's still based upon the original material, source material.
So what was your most enjoyable cartoon to work on out of all the cartoons that you directed? What did you enjoy directing the most?
There would be two. Obviously, one, the X-Men, and the other one was Jonny Quest, believe it or not. Jonny Quest was a show that was being done at Hanna-Barbera near the end of, I think, the end of the 90s. And they needed 26 new episodes to fill out the package. And so I was in charge of my 13 episodes, and I was also in charge of the writers. And so myself and the other co-director, Davis Doy, we would go out to have lunch with the writers, and they would pitch us stories. And then we just say, yes, no, yeah, oh, this sounds good, but what about, we give our input. And once we gave them okay, here's the 4 we want you to work on, then they went away and they wrote the stories. But we were able to, shape the stories that we wanted to see.
That's amazing freedom to have on such, well-known, comic book heroes, and just give you free reign. That's amazing. So you also worked on Mr. T, I believe, and Kid and Play and Thunder.
Yeah. I worked on Mr. T. That was kind of fun. I mean, what it was is that I was working at Marvel Productions in the daytime, and then at night I would do extra work. We call it freelance. And so a lot of the stuff I worked on as freelance was, I was 25. I could burn the candle at both ends. I didn't care. I can't do that anymore. but it worked. No, I couldn't. No, but I would work on Mr. T, Thunder, all of those extra shows. Kid and Play. I was the director on that show. Yeah. And the history behind that was actually the first director. His name was Bob Arkwright, and he was actually in charge of the show. And apparently he had an epiphany, and he decided to change careers in the middle of production, and he left. Wow. He was gone. I'm off. I'm off. Nobody's seen him since. So they hired me to come in and say, we need someone to take over production, or the series is going to be canceled. So they hired me to be what I call a triage director. I had to pick up the pieces that he left behind, keep the production going, and keep new stuff coming in. So it was a lot of work to keep that show in the air. And so that was my Kid and Play.
How many seasons did that have a lot of seasons, Kid and Play? Did it last?
Just one. Just one.
Okay.
Yeah.
It aired over here, but it was. I've never seen it rerun or anything.
No.
Same with the Mr. T thing. That didn't last long.
Mr. T didn't last.
It didn't air over here, but don't see it anymore.
Well, those are the characters, from our perspective, those cartoons, you don't really see black people in cartoons. And so the Kid and Play and the Mr. T thing was really quite, you know what I mean? And then all of a sudden it's gone.
Yes. Yeah. It was unfortunate that it Kid and Play could have lasted longer, but it was the way the production was set up and the fact that I had to try and fix it and catch up. They lost a lot of money in the budget for overseas and everything. It was unfortunate that it, fell apart the way it did. Most of the time when you have shows like a series like this, the money's budgeted for 13 episodes for that season. And if they don't see the ratings, if they don't see the return on investment,
then they
cut it.
You're not going to see a season 2.
Yeah. Also loved back in the 80s, Spiderman and His Amazing Friends.
I worked on that one also. That was my second. When I left, my first job was at Filmation Studios, and I was there for about 1.5 years, and then I got hired at Marvel to work on actually the first show was called it was a Spider-Man syndicated series, which it was back in the early 80s that they needed another 26. I worked on that. But then when they sold Amazing Friends, I was one of the storyboard artists working on that. At Marvel Productions, I worked there for 10 years. I worked on almost all their adventure shows.
So you might be able to answer this for me. When I watched Spider-Man Amazing Friends, I say I loved it, Iceman and Firestar. I get it, fire and ice. But who's Firestar? I only saw her in that cartoon. I've never seen her before.
Well, originally they wanted to do the Human Torch. from the comic
That's
books.
what I thought, yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But it was under couple of things. One thing, the property was licensed to somebody else, and so they were trying to sell it as a live action somewhere else. And two was that they wanted to add a woman to the series.
Mm-hmm.
And third thing was that they didn't, believe it or not, they thought showing someone turn on fire, that kids would imitate it. I mean, they thought kids were that stupid.
Yeah.
I never attempted to like myself.
That's the mentality. That's the mentality we were dealing with at the network back in the 80s.
Wow.
That's true.
Wow. I'd rather torch myself than eat my cereal and watch this cartoon. I didn't think that was going to happen. Wow.
Yeah. So they created an original character for the show,
right.
Which is, she was originally going to be called, the guy created his name as Dennis Marks. He was the producer of the show. And he originally wanted to call her Starfire, which I told him, you can't do that because that's one of the Teen Titans. Then he came back about 5 minutes later, said, what about Heatwave? I'm going, nope, that's a villain from The Flash. Yeah. And eventually he went back to the word Starfire and he said, what if he flipped it and went from is anybody named Firestar? I said, nope. He said, okay, that's it. And he walked away.
Done. There you go.
And that's how she got her name. That's how she was born. Yeah.
I love that cartoon.
I got a chance to write one of them too. If you ever see an episode called Swarm, where the guy's made out of bees in Spiderman's in print, yeah, I wrote that one. Even though I didn't get credit for it, I got paid for it. But I wrote.
That's always good.
Yeah.
That's always good.
Yes.
Oh, cool,
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, I did like that cartoon. But I always used to think Iceman used to leave a trail of ice in cities. Like, that's a bit. I was like,
I know.
He's
Everyone
not
knows
tidy.
who's been. Yeah.
He's not tidy. There's trails of ice, just chunks. Like,
There's no hiding. Where you been?
Yeah.
I followed you, man.
Yeah, what's that all over there? Yeah. Yeah. I can see where you've been, yes.
I can see where you've been last night. But Larry, how frustrating was it to do like action show cartoons, like the Robocops and so on, knowing that they were 18 adult films, and then try and transform them into like kid-friendly ones?
I couldn't really, imitate exactly to dilute it down to something that was appropriate for Saturday morning, because they were trying to sell, they're trying to sell, this is the audience, the demographics was like 8 to 12. Yeah. And so we had to do something that was appropriate for that age group. The best thing I could do when I was working on it was to try and make the action sequences as exciting as I could, even though there was like no damage being done to anybody, but just try and keep it exciting, keep the, what I call the eye candy moving and stuff, and keep it going,
Yeah, your move. Do you like the crossover of the X-Men films then? Because a lot of people do prefer the Marvel Avenger films more than what the X-Men films are. That's what I think. That's the view I get in the UK, maybe. Yeah. But how do you find the X-Men movies?
I liked. I did not. I'll put it this way: I did not like the third one with the Dark Phoenix, but the first and second one, I thought. I think it was Bryan Singer was director. I think he was doing a good job trying to capture the X-Men essence.
That's what it feels. It feels too much. He's trying to. It's not the cartoon. Like, it feels like he's trying too much to capture what the cartoon was. And, that's a hard one to replicate, I think, in film.
Yes, and I think I felt really good that when they did the. I think it was the live action Days of Future Past. It felt like a reset button that they could go back and actually redo those films again and do it right. Yeah. Gave them a chance to do that. Luckily or unluckily, now that Disney Marvel has those properties back again, and they're under the Kevin Feige's control. He's as much a fanboy as I am. So I think whenever he puts it out there, he's going to try and do a good job with it. I have faith in. Yeah.
There's hope for it.
Yeah. Hope for it.
Yes.
Yeah. Sticking with the X-Men, Larry, what's the theory about the X-Men being closely related to the whole civil rights movement. Professor X and Magneto representing Martin Luther King and Malcolm X. Do you know anything about that theory?
I know that in talk, because I worked with Stan for about 12 years. He did want to, the characters, the analog between mutants and minorities was deliberate on his part. And he, basically society going against the mutants. And he never told me directly that it was like Martin Luther King versus Malcolm X. I think that theory came out in the fan more than Stan. But when oh God, who was it? Chris Claremont, when he made Magneto Jewish, it really solidified the reason why Magneto was so against humanity, because his people had been killed by the Nazis. But to answer your question, yeah, Lee never put that deliberate Martin Luther King versus Malcolm X stuff, but he did want to use it as use the mutants as a stand-in for oppression of minorities, because he was Jewish himself. Stan was, and so that's
the story.
Stan and Jack actually were both Jewish.
Okay, thanks for clearing that up for me. What was it like working with Stan Lee?
There's 3 Stan Lees.
Okay.
And he would come to work every day. There's Peter Parker, Stan Lee. He would come to work, and he'd be a regular guy you could talk to, not a problem. It was just regular talk. There's Spiderman Stan Lee. Literally, you got to remember, I'm like 25 years old. There's this old guy jumping all over literally jumping on the table, saying, Spiderman does this.
He does this. He moves like this. He climbs like this.
Oh my God! It was all over the place.
Wow!
And the third Stan Lee was J. Jonah Jameson, which was maybe he had an argument with the wife or a bad day or whatever. You see that one? You see that version. And you just go away.
Stay out of the way.
Go away.
Oh, that is wicked. That's invaluable information, that is.
I thought the last one was going to be Venom.
Oh, no. No, he hadn't been invented back in the 80s.
Great.
That's
Stan Lee.
Great.
And like I said, I worked with him for like 12, 13 years. So it's strange. I have one picture with him because we never brought cameras to work. And the idea of phone cameras didn't exist back then. So I only have one picture with him.
But at least you got to meet him and work with the guy.
Exactly.
Yes.
So amazing. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
I worked on all those. The original series. Well, I'd say, let me put it this way. From the original series that was done back in 84, 86, it was done from a company called Murakami Wolf. It was a 5-part miniseries. I worked on like 3 of the 5. And once that miniseries got good ratings, then they put in an order for 65 episodes. Cranked through, I think, 2 like 65 and 65, whatever that number is. They cranked through all of these episodes, and I was lucky. Again, I was doing this freelance at home. 118 episodes of Turtles at home.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, just eating pizza.
Yeah.
Yes, cowabunga. Yes.
You must have left your house like with a bandana around your head, a stick,
Night holes cut out, innit?
Oh wow, no, I love that.
I had Turtles in the Day. I had He-Man. I had Hulk. I had Spider-Man. I had Defenders of the Earth. I had Transformers, G.I. Joe.
Yeah.
Oh my God! And the rest is history, as they say. Transformers, robots in disguise. There's more than meets the eye. So tell us about you're part of the old school Transformers, right? Not the new animation and new drawing. You're a base one when it started.
The ones we remember, the 80s ones.
Yeah, part of the original series back in the mid 80s. It was like Transformers and G.I. Joe. I was storyboarding on both of those shows at the same time.
So. He was like a DJ. He's like, got that on that. You turntables of cartoons, like mixing them in, spinning and turning. Oh, nice. So
it's funny you should say that, D. So was there any point where in Transformers you needed army men and just use the G.I. Joe army men?
Yeah.
It would be like generic. It would be like little generic characters you just kind of draw in the background, like
same background characters. Yeah.
Same buildings or
we just it was all the same. It was all in the same studio. So if I needed a background, you could grab a background from G.I. Joe or grab a background from Transformer, it was the same company, you know.
Yeah.
So it didn't really matter. You could,
It speeds up the workflow.
Yeah.
So we could just transfer assets. I mean, officially you can't transfer assets, but as an artist, you just grab whatever you need, you know, to make it work.
Whose idea to have the da-na-na-na-na-na and the logo changing? I love that. Like, I used to get excited just to see that logo changing into a new scene.
That's one of the best.
That was the original director. I'm trying to think. Nelson Shin was the original director, and that was one of his transitions to go from like one place to another.
Yeah.
It's like the Batman.
Exactly.
Batman thing.
I love that. But what I'll say, I love Transform. What always bugged me though is when Optimus Prime transformed, he didn't have nothing on his back, but all of a sudden he's got a whole trailer, a big chunky silver trailer.
Where'd that come from?
Behind it. Where'd that come from? Wheels and all, everything.
Yeah, I know. We did that as an artist. We're storyboarding and we're going, where the hell does the trailer come from? So we just said, okay, it just slides in from it just comes in, it slides in, just go for it, you know.
And it must look so odd when he changes back into Optimus Prime. Like, where's it going? Like, anyway, I don't know.
The way we got around that is that a lot of times when he's transforming from a truck to the humanoid version, he would jump into midair. And then the trailer would just disappear.
Oh,
yeah.
That's right.
Very smart.
Autobots.
Very smart.
Yes.
Roll out.
Okay. Okay.
It's in animation. It's just called that you know. It's magic. You know. It's like
magic.
It's like you have characters reach behind their back. They pull out something. Like a gun or whatever, and then when they don't need it, they pull it back and it's gone. You know, it's the magic of animation.
Just like how Megatron is a 30-foot tall robot and then turns into a little handgun. I don't understand it, but hey, I don't know. But maybe on Cybertron that technology exists.
Yeah.
Another thing, when I used to watch Defenders of the Earth, you worked on that as well, right?
Yes.
I remember a scene. Didn't you notice this scene, Larry? There was a scene when all the Defenders of the Earth were in their cabins, their dorms, whatever, the Defenders of the Earth bedroom, and they all get up, there's an alarm, and Lo-Fi gets out, but he's still got his grappling hook backpack and his whole gear on. I thought, hey, what's he still doing with that on? What if he rolled over and the grappling hook stabbed him in his side? I used to think that. What if a gun goes off if he turns funny? Larry, what's that all about? Did you notice that?
Yes.
That could have been a point.
Those are the little things when I was director on X-Men. I would catch mistakes like that. And take it out. I would just erase it out of the show.
They're good though. Some of them bits are gold.
Now the people who are in charge of Defenders, I wasn't a director on that show, but I was one of the storyboard artists, and so that's the kind of stuff when you're in charge you can catch before it goes any further, so it won't, you know.
Should have mentioned it beforehand.
There was a scene of where Ryder wrote Storm flying up into the air and creating a storm by spinning. And so when I saw that in the script, I just took my pen, I scratched it out, and then I just wrote in what she would do. So I was able to catch mistakes like that. I mean, it was just an honest mistake because most of the people who wrote the episodes did not know the characters.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I caught a lot of mistakes like that.
Lo-Fi.
Yes. Yeah.
You also do the storyboards for another cartoon that only briefly came to the UK. It was a Jackie Chan cartoon.
Oh yeah.
You done some of the storyboarding on that?
Yes, I did some storyboards on Jackie Chan. That was at a studio called Sony Pictures over in Culver City, and I did some boards on those too. It was quite different because American boards were like left to right, and Jackie Chan boards were vertical, up and down.
Right.
So it was a different format. You had to get used to telling your stories.
And you was nominated for an Emmy once, Larry, weren't you?
Oh yes, it was on Captain Planet, first season. I was a director of the first season. I think there were 3 more directors after me, but I did the first season. That's when I got the nomination.
And you was the only one that got nominated out of all the other directors, weren't you?
Yep.
Yeah, that's what I like to hear.
Yeah.
But can you remember who you lost to?
I have not the faintest idea.
I'm just going to check. I think it was the MC Hammer cartoon. So.
Oh God! Oh God! That would be so funny.
Never lived that one down.
Oh yeah.
Oh wow. So where are you working at now? What are your projects now? What?
For me, I retired about 3 years ago, and I've been working on my own little graphic novels. I've been going to conventions and doing sketches and writing. I got a screenplay that's over at CAA, the talent agency for representation, to try and maybe do a superhero movie. But all of that's on hold because of the virus. Everything stopped.
Yeah. So what have you been doing to keep yourself busy then?
I don't know. I'm going crazy. I can't go to conventions. The comic book stores just opened. There's no movies to go see. So it's like, I'm going in. It's like I need something.
Yeah. So with the success of like Black Panther, are we going to see more black cartoon characters coming in cartoons, comic books on the screen?
I think so. I think there's going to be a lot more representation, and there's also going to be a lot more. There's going to be more studios. Look, they can see how well and how profitable it is to do some of these shows like Black Panther and stuff. So I think there are a lot of studios looking for new characters, new blood, because basically between Marvel and DC, they've got that pretty much locked in. Yeah. And so I think if you have a new property like the one I was pitching to them that they seem to like, it might be something that will get out there, which has a mixture of a whole bunch of characters in it. I just don't know, I just got to wait for this pandemic to end or something like that.
Yeah.
But it's, if you guys have your own properties on IPs, I mean, everybody's looking for it. Apple and Netflix and YouTube, all these people with subscription models are looking for new ideas. New content, yes.
Yeah.
So I think it's the time is right.
The time is right.
Next year.
Yeah. The time is right, but not now.
That's crazy.
That's right. Yeah.
It's so true, though, isn't it?
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. So I just say, you've been a director through storyboard and cartoons. Is there any advice that you'd give to any budding people that want to get into the animation, cartoon, directing, storyboarding industry?
I would say you have to define what you like about animation. People that want to be a storyboard artist, that's how I started. What I tell them to do is I ask them, I say, okay, is there a movie or film or anything that you would watch over and over again and you don't get tired of watching it? And depending upon the answer they give me, I say, okay, carve out some time, watch it again, turn off the sound. And then as an artist, sit down and analyze every cut, close up, medium, long shots. Try and analyze, why do you like this director? Or why do you like this show? And then that's the beginning of learning how to tell a story. Because basically storyboards are telling stories. And that's how you begin to learn how to tell a story without words. When I would hire people to work on my shows and they show me samples, I would just flip the pages and just see how far I could get through the story without reading the dialogue. Because if you can tell a story visually without words, you're an excellent storyboard artist. That's what you got to do. There are other categories in animation, like there are people who love to draw cars or love to draw backgrounds or love to design new characters. Those are all different job categories. And that's what you have to define what you like to do. For me, I'm a storyteller, so I like telling stories. But that's the one thing you got to just try and figure out for yourself what you like. And today with the computer animation, there are so many different categories of CGI jobs you could get. One's for clothing, one's for rigging, one's for lighting. There's all these different categories in computers that you can go for, but you got to find out which one do you like the most. And try and get the best training for that category that you're going to go for. You probably need to know the entire how to do it, but just specialize in certain of it.
Great talking with you, Larry. It's been a pleasure.
Oh,
Thank you.
pleasure
Thank
too.
you.
Nice talking to you guys, and hope to do this again. Okay.
Yes, definitely. You said it.
Part two. Part two, definitely.
Yeah,
I'll
definitely.
be here. All right, guys. Take care.
Take care.
You too.
Thank you.
Thanks, Larry.
Where's the button? Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. So that was another good show, brother.
That was good.
Another
man.
good show.
I like that one.
Yeah. So much cartoons.
Yeah. He's
I
loads.
Yeah, loads. Like 2 at once and that. Come on, man. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. Thanks for listening again. Yeah, take care.
See you next time.
Peace.
Peace.